Hey guys, Patrick from IRO Off-Road here. Welcome to our new video series. We're going to be talking about our flex joints, going through the rebuilds and the features and all that sort of stuff. But before we get to that, we wanted to show you kind of an example of why we really believe that our joints are the best on the market. So you ask, why Iron Rock Off-Road's flex joint versus any of the other spherical type joints that are out there? It's easy. They offer more misalignment per their size. They're stronger and they're longer lasting. We use these in pure off-road applications. They can be put on daily drivers. It doesn't matter. It doesn't hurt them. They can be used anywhere for a higher level of performance. Now, take this arm, for example. This came out of our JK race Jeep that's featuring our long arm Rocklink X setup. And that thing has been the king of the hammers, one of the toughest, most grueling off-road races in the world. It's been out to Moab, it's been jumped in the dunes, it's seen it all. I mean, look at the condition of the arm. It's all scraped up. This thing has been through the ringer, but this joint is still holding. It is still holding the weight and leverage of this arm in the vise, and that's a good thing. This assembly should be nice and tight and torqued and have a good clamping force on that joint, on that ball inside, because and it still moves, no trick. It's not just seized up and we're playing with you here. It does still move. But this is a good thing. We hear a lot of time like, oh, I put your joint together, but it was so tight, I couldn't move it. So I backed up. Don't do that. These things are supposed to be this way. You should not be able to move this joint by hand, even if you're some Tommy Toughnuts. You're not as strong as your Jeep. You don't have the weight of your wheel and tire package, your axle, your accessories, the weight of the vehicle. You should not be able to move this by hand. Ours, you can't. And that's what makes them stronger and longer lasting. So with all that said, let's jump over and see an assembly. So we've got all our components laid out here. This is our 2 5/8 flex joint. And by 2 5/8, 2 inches, 5/8, that is our mounting width of this ball. Most commonly going to be used in our lower control arms, both short and long. Some of our upper control arms in the long series will run them. It's going to come with all of our hardware, our end washers, our races, and our ball. We're going to be installing it into a male end just so you see the assembly. Now you might also notice we got 2 different sets of races here, depending on when you see this video and whatnot. You might have seen, had, or used our white ones because that's been our longest running revision. But in the future, which might be today for you, our pumpkin spice races.
It is absolutely delicious.
Now, you're going to also notice we don't have any snap rings or threaded collars or anything like that, because that's what we found are the weak points of these. These threaded collars, they end up backing out or just not holding that preload as much as they should. And the snap rings, they just don't have enough surface area for retention to be as strong as they should, to be as strong as what we demand of them. And that's what makes ours so special. That's why we're getting 50,000 or more plus. That's why I said it can be on a daily driver, it can be on a weekend warrior or a true all-out, off-road machine. These will hold up for the test of time. So with that said, again, let's get into the assembly. I'm going to glove up because I'm fancy and I don't like to get dirty. Now we do assemble these with grease. These races are made of what's considered a self-lubricating high-density plastic, UHMW, but we do still assemble with grease because it makes us feel good. Now the grease, we have no specifications on. We always say just use what's in the gun. We know some people like to use like a high moly content, some people like to use a marine grade, some people are just grabbing the red and tacky wheel bearing grease. Really whatever's in the gun. I don't even know what's in this gun. I'm going to use it anyway. So we'll get the ball greased up first. And we won't have to go crazy on it, just a nice smear on everything. And then onto the races. We're gonna grab a couple of our bolts, send them through an end washer, get a race on there, and then we'll get that started in our male end. And now these joints are what come in, most of our kits. They are also available for, doing rebuild maintenance. And also, if you're a DIY guy, if you're building your own stuff, by all means, throw our joints onto your kit. Throw the ball in. And now with that other side started with the 2 bolts, we can line up the other side for easy alignment and installation. Now it's a pretty tight fit in there. And again, kind of the same concept of why we bolt these things together. That tight fit, that hard clamp, is what helps these things be as strong and long-lasting as they possibly can, and as what we expect. We don't want to be doing this every season. With ours, you don't have to. Now, as I mentioned before, once everything starts getting clamped together, that ball is going to be pretty hard to move. So as you start getting this put together, try and keep that ball as straight as you can. Now we're ready for the hardware. Now this joint is a little bit more unique in that we are using external fastener on this. It's a nylock nut, and that the edge of that nut is going to line right up on the inside of that tube there, which is super handy because then we don't have to hold 2 wrenches. All right, now we've gone through with the ratchet wrench, got everything pretty well snugged up, so we're getting ready for the torque procedure. And this is important. We're not just slamming these things together. We do believe that the proper torque procedure is a huge contributor to the longevity of these joints. Now, for the 2 5/8, it's a 2-pass. The first pass is going to be at 70 inch-pounds. The second one at 85 inch-pounds. Guys, inch-pounds, not foot-pounds. I have to say that because we've had a few people, not to name names, that have gone after it with foot-pounds, broken the bolts, gotten a hold of us for replacements, which we're happy to do. But to prevent the inconvenience, let's just start with inch-pounds. So just like you would torquing up a wheel, we're going to go in a crisscross pattern. Now the reason, that we're going to do a crisscross pattern, and also the reason we do a light first pass, heavier second pass, is just to make sure we've got a nice, even, uniform clamp on those races against that ball. All right, that's 70. Let's bump her up to 85. All right, second pass is done. Now we do also say to do a final pass, same torque, 85 inch-pounds after 5 minutes of letting the thing sit. So while you're waiting, get your grease zerk in there. And we just say to orientate that so that it's easy to access once it's installed into your Jeep. Which sometimes you don't 100% know until you're in there, so I wouldn't recommend going full ham right away. Now we'll get some grease in there. Now, as you've kind of seen through the process, everything's very tight in there. It's a tight clearance joint. Again, that's what helps contribute to its strength and longevity. So when we're trying to get grease in there, you might not get a lot in there. And if you don't, no need to fret. That is completely normal. All right, zerk's in. We pump some grease in there. Waited about 5 minutes. Welcome back. We're going to do that final pass at 85 inch-pounds. Now, with this sequence, as we said, these tight joints is what makes them last longer, hold up to more abuse, and we love them. They've been great for us for a very long time. This is not your seasonal maintenance. And speaking of maintenance, you might ask, how often do I got to grease these things? I mean, if you're one of those super maintenance guys, if you got the grease gun in your hands because you're doing your front end, sure, go ahead, throw it on the flex joints too, see if they take a pump. They probably won't. We see these things go almost maintenance free for a very long time. So with all that said, thanks for stopping by.